It gives me great pleasure to introduce Tuna Kiremitci. I hope I said your family name right. Correct. Okay, that's good. Overexposed does not do justice to Kiremitci's career, spanning a decade of novels, poetry, rock albums, a regular column, and finally a film in theaters. Welcome to Al Multaqa, Mr. Kiremitci.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am very happy to be here for the first time, and if I may, I am very inspired from Kerim Bey, the beautiful music of the Arabian language, especially if somebody reads some poems. It was very inspiring for me. And if I may, I would like to read one of my poems before starting.
That will be our pleasure.
In Turkish, for sharing the music of Turkish language. It's not great and beautiful like Arabic language maybe, but I would like to sound in Turkish with one of my poems. Sevdim seni bir kere. 14 yaşımda okulu kırıp Taksim'den Harbiye'ye kül rengi yağmur altında el ele yürüdüğümüzde sevdim. Karnımda ilk kelebekler, sonra annen okulu basıp sen misin kızımın konuştuğu çocuk diye kükrediğinde. 16 yaşında okulunda konser verdiğimizde o zamanlar alemin en acemi solisti olmama rağmen sesimi Bruce Dickinson'a benzettiğim zaman sevdim. 17 yaşında beni mahalleden bir çocukla gereksiz yere aldatana kadar sevdim seni. Hatta galiba ondan sonra bile. 20 yaşımda Marmara Ereğlisi'ndeki iskelede bir sabah Enis Batur'un Gri Divan kitabını verdiğin zaman sevdim. En sevdiğin şiirin sayfasında bir kurumuş meşe yaprağı. Şimdi bulamıyorum o baskıyı sahaflarda bile. 23 yaşımda Safo Club'da dans ederken karşılaştığım zaman kıvır kıvır akarken omuzlarından kadınlığın şu hayatta kimseyi, hiçbir şeyi takmadığını fark ettiğimde 25 yaşımda yılbaşı gecesi elinde sepetle Kadıköy iskelesinde beklerken gördüğüm zaman sevdim. O kış kıyamette incecikti üstün başın, küçücüktü ayakların. Sonunda anladım ki sen aslında hep aynı kadındın, aynı kusursuz, evrensel dişi, saçları kozmik ışınlarla, yıldız tozlarıyla yıkanmış, parmak uçlarında şimşeklerin dans ettiği. Bense her defasında başka bir adam, her defasında yenik düşüp değişmiş, kıymetini bilememiş başka bir budala. Bal mumundan kanatlarla güneşe yaklaşmaya çalışan, beyhudeliğinden habersiz bir amatör süpermen. Düşünce balonu karışık, silahsız metropolis sakini. Anladığımda kadehini kaldırmış, gülümsüyordun. Aynı anda sarı, kumral, kızıl, simsiyahtı saçların. Gözlerin aynı anda deniz mavisi ve elaydı. Fonda David Bowie çalıyordu. İçimde sallanıyordu zaman. Koskoca bir sarkaç gibi. Şükran. Now, this is how Turkish it's sounding. Yes, I am ready now.
You're ready, okay. I read, something about you that you are giving up writing novels. Why is that? Is this true? I read in one of synopses about, your career that you are no longer going to do any novels in the future.
Yes, I retired.
Why is that?
Because I finished the novels that I want to write.
Okay. There is another thing, is your novels have been translated into 14 languages.
Yes.
But I found it very difficult to find novels that you wrote in English. The only one that I found in Amazon, it was the last one, I think, which is Prayers Stay the Same. Yes. Why is that? Is it not translated in English, most of them?
Yes, because it's very expensive to translate one of your books to English. This is the first reason. And second reason is I'm lucky because, in fact, I'm lucky because I'm working the best literary agency of the Turkey, and I am working with a very good Egyptian publisher, Mr. Sherif. And but to be published in English language is not easy for the countries like Turkey, because Turkish is not very common language, and if you want to be published in England, Britain or United States, you have to have a very good agency there. We are working about it now, but not yet we succeed. But I'm happy. I'm not complaining. I translated to 14 language, including the very beautiful language like Arabian. As for now, it's enough for me. Maybe in the future.
Okay, so you are going, what are you going to do for, once you give up doing novels? Are you going to do more movies?
Yes, no, I'm musician. My first job is musician. I started my art life as musician, but I stopped my music career for literature. Now I came back to music and I'm continuing as musician.
Okay.
I'm making music.
Fantastic.
And I'm writing poems. I'm publishing poems. This is my last book. It's about poetry. It's my songs. It's including my songs and my poems.
Nice. I wish it was in English,
Maybe in future, but I'm writing only songs and poems now.
In your last book, the one we read, I just wanted to ask a question because I read it in Arabic.
Yes.
The dialogue was between Jewish and Muslim.
Yes.
Why did you choose Jewish and Muslim? Why not Muslim and Christians?
To be honest, I don't remember very well because it was 10 years ago when I wrote this book. But the main idea, I think the main idea of this novel is coming from a poetry. I inspired by a poem of a Jewish poet, Yehuda Amihai, his name is. And one of his poems, he's saying that the religions can be different, but the prayers are always the same. Okay. It's a very beautiful idea for me because we can have different religions. We can fight with each other for the name of our gods, of our religions. But after the fight, after the war, when we go home, we are praying the same things in the same way.
It's true.
For example, the humanity, they are fighting with each other for the name of religions. But after, we are praying in the same way and we want the same things from our God. And it's very important, and I think it's better to discover the prayers of each other before starting to fight.
True. It's
because
very true.
This is a kind of empathy for understanding each other, because only in the prayers, we are showing very honestly the secrets of our heart. And the prayers is connecting our hearts to each other, like internet.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a very, I was very younger. I was 10 years younger, and I was much more optimist when I started to write this book. But I was thinking that it could be a very good point to finish the conflicts, to understand the prayers of each other. And you asked why Jewish lady?
Yeah.
Because I'm a part of Middle East.
Okay.
Yes, and the biggest religious conflict that I know in life is between the Jewish and Muslims. I'm coming from a Muslim family. I don't have any Jewish relative. My family came from Bulgaria 40 years ago, and Balkan Muslim family. And we were connected very close to the Jewish families. And everything is started with with an idea, and I want to say that the whole book is a simple dialogue. There is nothing else by the dialogue. One dialogue, two ladies like a theater text. They are talking with each other, an old lady, a young Muslim girl, an old Jewish lady. Only they are talking with each other.
It's very interesting.
It was very experimental for me.
But I tell you, it was very new. That the whole
Yeah.
book is just a dialogue, and it was very interesting.
Yes, it was interesting because I find that idea 15 years ago, but I couldn't start to write because I wasn't know how I have to write it. But when I find the idea that it can be only just a dialogue, why not? I started to write and I felt that I'm in the right way. It was very challenging. It was very challenging for me because I wasn't know if I can succeed about it. But it was very experimental, and it's a little bit surprising for the reader.
Okay. Anybody for questions?
Sorry. Okay. Welcome to Al Multaqa Salon. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure you be with us. مرحبا بالشيخة موزة بالطحنون. دكتورة موزة أحب أسميك شيخة موزة، بس الدكتورة موزة تعني لي، لأن أعرف كم أنت شغوفة بالثقافة وشغوفة بالفكر، ودائما عندك هم الثقافة هم كبير، ومن دائما الداعمين الأساسيين لصالون الملتقى الأدبي، ودائما أشكر حضورك وأشكر تعاونك وأشكر حبك الملتقى. يسعدنا حضورك والخوات الفاضلات، أهلا وسهلا فيك يا نظر عيني. I introduce Sheikha Moza, Dr. Sheikha Moza. She's of the royal family, and always she like the culture, she like the book, and she has a PhD, and she's coming to listening to you today. It's, I like your book. We read your book. I like the title more than the title. It's catch me. It's the why I choose it. Praying
Prayer.
because I cannot.
The title is same in Arabic, I guess.
No. I will tell you why I choose the book.
Why I choose?
I choose the book because
prayers.
I like the titles. When the first when I put the book program, and I know you are the owner of guest of Abu Dhabi
Yes.
Book Fair, I told them I want to meet this Mr. Tuna because we read your book before, another book, and I love it also. And that's why with the pleasure to see you. But when I saw the title, I said, oh my God, I will read something about terrorists and I will read something. It really will affect me. Yeah. And I liked first the way the discussion between the old woman and the young woman. It's
Yes.
really everybody, they give the experience about their life, and the way how they explain, it's really beautiful. The first
Thank
time
you.
I liked them, but which I feel little bit when I read it, you are not fair enough, because what about the old woman and how she's suffering because she's a Jewish and what's happening to them, and you, this side, but you don't mention another side from another religion, Islam religion. And when I read the book, I don't want to hear these things. It's not my problem. I like the experience about the woman, the two women, young and old, and how they
Yeah.
experience. That part I don't like it. Because it's, I think, affect the novels. It's my idea. Yeah. It's affected because now we cannot talk about Jewish, what's happening to them. Now in this 2017, what's happening to around me, it's more suffering. Yani. That part I don't like it in the book. I don't against Jewish. We are here. We discuss the book and how it's nice. But this part I think it's really affected me because I find it why we don't need it. I feel it. It's just put it like this. You want just to. My question, are you write this one? You want the book to be famous and in Europe, or you want to be more? يسمونه ينتشر. ينتشر. No, ينتشر. Spread. Sorry, spread over everywhere more than.
To be popular.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very easy to be popular with telling the Jewish stories in
Yes,
the
yes,
Europe. Yes, you are right.
You want like this? Are you put your plan like this because you are young? Maybe you want to.
Yes, maybe you are right, but the problem. I understand what you are meaning, and I'm supporting your opinion.
Armenian, they have more important in Armenian suffering in Turkish more than the Jewish. Yani. If I am
Yes.
me like Orhan Pamuk, yani, all his writing about Armenian or about what is affecting them, feeling of them.
Yes.
But you put it, I feel this one just you like somebody stick something and they wanted just to have tell a story. Yani.
In this novel, the point is the old lady, she is wiser than the young one. And that's why she is explaining herself much more better. And she is a much more better storyteller. And the young girl, she is not wise and she is still fighting with the life and she cannot organize her feelings. And she don't have the real conscience about her religion. And that's why the relationship between two ladies is a little bit not fair. Yes, you are right. But this is one of the dramatical situations of the novel. Yes, it's very dramatic to telling the Jewish stories because it's very popular, like because of the Hollywood movies. All
Exactly.
of us, we know, it's already not fair because all of us, we have some sufferings, but it's not popular like this. But my story was a little bit to telling some different layers of this story. Because, yes, there's a Jewish tragedy in the middle of the novel, but there is another tragedy that one young lady, she is coming to another city because of the war. She is running from the war. She's coming to Istanbul, and she has to leave the relatives of her husband, and she is finding the true love there. And this is interesting me. The rest is the world behind the story for me, because the best stories that I want to tell is the conflicts and dramatic situations between two or three persons and in the middle of historical tragedies and connected with each other. And maybe you are right, maybe I have to write the second part of this novel after 10 years when I will be wiser. But I cannot argue to your argument. Maybe you can write. Maybe I was much more ambitious at that age, and that's why it was looking much more better to me to telling some Jewish stories, or I was interested the real Jewish stories in the Istanbul. And you know, there's two kind of Jewish stories, Ashkenaz and the Sephards, and sometimes there are some conflicts between them in Istanbul. And in Turkey, there are a lot of stories about it. Maybe we have to tell the other ones. You are right. That's all I can say for now.
رح أحكي بالعربي إذا بده يلبس الترجمة. أنا بحكي بالعربي. You can put this so they can translate for you. أنا بحكي بالعربي لأني مش قادرة to relax.
I am not sure if it's working.
أجرب
okay.
أحكي. Is it working?
Yes, it's working, I guess.
طيب. يعني أنا الكتاب لما قرأته هلأ استغربت إنك مش يهودي اللي كاتب الكتاب. استغربت إنك أنت مسلم، يعني في عندك دين تاني، أو ممكن بعمرك يعني في العلمانية، إنه الواحد ما عنده، يعني كان واضح الدين اليهودي في الكتاب أكثر من مواضح الدين الإسلامي. فلما كانت العنوان إنه صلواتنا واحدة، كنت أتوقع إنه يكون في مقارنة على القليلة. صح، بلاش يحط إنهم متساويين، بس على القليلة يحط الدين الآخر شوي إشي عنه ما كان موجود بتاتا. فهي يرجع هذا إلى تربيتك إنه لا تعرف في الدين الإسلامي كثيرا.
I think I know better the Islamic religion because I'm coming from the Muslim family, but I learn about how the Jewish people lives, and I have a lot of Jewish friends lives in Istanbul. I have a lot of witnesses about it, and to be honest, the religions wasn't too much important for me in this novel. Because there are some other guys, if you remember, in the same novel. There's an Armenian, young Armenian boy, and there are some other people coming from different religions. There is much more than religions. The important thing is for me the prayers. You can be Orthodox, you can be Muslim, you can be Jewish. It's not important for this novel. The important thing is you are praying in the same way with the same words. Sorry? It's mentioning in the novel. It's mentioned. Maybe
It's mentioned.
Maybe you forget. It's a little.
I like your writing. I love your book. If you have another one, I will read it.
Thank you. Now, it's very clear in the novel. Maybe because of the translation.
No. It was mentioned. I read it that, you know, the old lady, she said to the young one, she said,
مش أعطي كريدت، هي بدها تسأله ليش عطى كريدت الدين اليهودي أكثر من المسلم.
Yes, Rosella is saying this very clearly. I remember this. I'm not remembering whole the novel, but I'm remembering this very well. She's mentioning it very clearly. Yes, and this is my point, and because this novel is about empathy, I think, to understanding each other, and about the prejudices, because we are living in the prejudices and the lack of empathy. The rest is secondary in the novel, and the main aim of all the arts is connecting our hearts to each other, because the politics is always building the walls between the religions, between the nations, between the ideas, because that's how they are making money. But the art, the mission of art, is achieving these walls and connecting our hearts to each other. This is our aim as writer, as musician, as sculptor, as movie makers. Otherwise, the art has no any meaning in the life. If I can do this, maybe it can be a little success for me.
برافو عليكم.
Yes.
Yes, good evening. وكمان أنا بدي أحكي بالعربي عشان أعبر عن نفسي أكثر. أوكي. لغتنا العربية الفصحى ولا حتى العامية نعشقها جميعا في هذا الصالون الأدبي. You could hear me, yes?
yes, he is.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes, I'm hearing the
Yes.
translation right now.
اوكي يلا اوكي لغتنا العربية الرائعة من اللغات الجميلة جدا في العالم نعشقها ولكن أود هنا لأوصل لك الرسالة التي أريد أن أقولها أحببت أن أقولها بالعربي. الرواية قرأتها خلال ساعتين 3 4 جميلة جدا من المقدمة عرفت أن هذا ما يسمى الأسلوب الروائي المسرحي وبالإنجليزية مكتوبة لا مش
Yes,
ثياتر
theatrical,
ستايل.
yes.
something نو في العربي كتبوها مسرح رواية. مسرح رواية أخذوا جزء من كلمة مسرح ميم سين را وكملوا كلمة وألف ياتا مربوطة فمسرح رواية. العلاقة الرائعة السيدة العجوز صاحبة الخبرة أو صاحبة الحظ السيء أنه تنفصل عن زوجها وتقع في حب آخر أوصلتها لي بمست شغاف القلب. مست القلب الصبية الصغيرة المتمرد على أهلها الغنية الكذا استطعت أن توصل لي فتاة متمردة ولكن تتحمل العمل الذي تقوم به من أجل النقود حتى أو المال حتى لا تأخذ من أبيها. العرب، اليهود، الإسلام، المسيحية، نحن في بلاد الحدود صارت مفتوحة جدا جدا هذه الأيام. يعني إذا تجاهلنا جنسية أو دين معين سيصلنا بالفضاء المفتوح. كنت شاب صغير يمكن قبل سنوات صغيرة وكتبتها أتقنتها جدا أشكرك عليها. وممكن فعلا ما تترك الروايات لأنك أو المسرح الروائي لأنك تتقنه ولا تتجه فقط للشعر وأكمل هذا الأسلوب وننتظر منك روايات أخرى. وشكرا.
Wow, I want to believe you. Thank you. You remember much more better than me the novel. Thank you very much. You are so kind. But there's the Turkish intellectuals, Turkish artists and novelists we have a serious problem. We don't know very well the Arabian civilization. Because after the Turkish Republic, because of some political reasons, we cut the main relationships between the Arabian civilization and the Turkish. We are, our generation especially, we were seriously ignorant about all Arabic civilization. And I started to make researches about Arabian language and the civilization after meeting Sherif. He inspired me, my publisher, Egyptian publisher, thanks to him, and my ex-Algerian girlfriend. And after this, I discovered the differences and the strong points, the Arabian civilization, why the Arabian poets, they are the best in the world, why the Arabian arts, the movies and the novels or something. And I just discovered that my own culture is very weak if you compare with the all Arabic civilization. And that's why maybe we stopped to connect with the Arabian world for not to feel weak to ourselves. And thank you very much again for your beautiful words, and thank you for reading my novel. What else a novel can want? Thanks.
Thank you, Tuna, for your reply, and thank you for your what relationship we have now. We have 3 books for you, and the 4th is on its way. I would like to reply to some of the answers and ask you one of my questions that I want to ask about this book. First, why we selected this book. I think we're a 41-year-old publishing house. We have now, since 5 years, started this translation project. He was one of our first books, by the way, that we're in a reprint now. The selection process, we have over 99 books in translation. The reason we selected the book, and I wrote it in the introduction of the publisher, I wrote 4 or 5 reasons for that. I totally understand the idea that the Arab world or the Arab/Islamic world would take the Jewish-Islamic conflict. But the thing is that I felt that it's not about this specific conflict. I felt you took it as an example of many conflicts that arise, and that though we might speak different languages, we might have different religion, we might have different ways of thinking, but we all talk the same to God. Even if I'm talking in Arabic, you're talking in Turkish, someone is talking in French. So we talk to the same person, different languages. And I think now we published this book, I think first edition was 2011. Now it proves more our point of view. because what's happening in the world now really reads this way of thinking. I mean, even between Islamic people themselves, between other conflicts around the world, it needs this kind of tolerance, this kind of understanding. I have been offered a lot of books about the Israeli conflict, about the Holocaust, about World War II. There are plenty, and they are and people read them all around the world with a different perspective. Some are really targeted to give a different idea, to give a different version. But with your book, I didn't feel that you're trying to do this at all, because I totally refuse these things, these biased books towards something. I thought that, or I felt what you did was really giving the bigger meaning. This is why we have on the title on top of this that though religions are different, the prayer stays the same, which is the main idea of the book. So that's why we selected the book, and that's why it was successful. My question for you as a reader, not as a publisher, it's this styling, because it's really very strange. I always use this book as a bet for people who don't read, who don't like reading, because I say you will finish it in one night. It's a very easy read, and you get to know about the character without really having to, all this way of describing, the normal way of a book. You do it differently. Were you really experimenting, or you had this idea first? Why did you choose this way specifically for this topic?
Thank you, Sherif. It was a very challenging for me, yes, because I didn't read any book, including just nothing but dialogues before. I wasn't have a role model for me. I think, but I'm not sure that I invented this. Maybe somewhere sometimes in the world somebody else could do the same. A novel with only dialogues, like a theater text. But it was the first for Turkey. Nobody could dare before using only dialogues, nothing else in a novel. It was very challenging for me, and that's why I excited. And something pushed me to write this novel, because the starting point was a friend of my father. In the dinner, one friend of my father said to me, "Oh, I will hire a guy to come 2 times every week to speak with me English." I said, "Why?" He said, "For not to forget my English," because he used to live 2 years in England. He learned English, and after come back to Turkey, he were concerning that he will forget English and lose his practice about it. And for protecting his practice, he hired a young boy to come student English, British guy. He was coming 2 times every week to see the friend of my father for only talking, for chatting, talking about what I asked it, and he said about everything. Nothing matters. 2 hours every week they were talking to each other, and I said to myself, "Oh, what a beautiful way to telling a story. It can be a very good idea of story." I smelled this, but I couldn't dare to start right. But after 2 years, finally, I could start, and it was the biggest challenge of my novel career. But I'm very happy to write about it, because it was my biggest success as a novelist. Because it translated 13 languages, I connected a lot of people around the world, and it was a very good story, and it still continues. And because of this novel, I am here, and I'm connecting with you. I'm telling my ideas, and what does a writer wants. And that's why I'm very happy. And the title, "The Prayer Stay the Same," was very beautiful for me, because I don't know how it is in Arabic, but in Turkish, it sounds very poetic.
Even in Arabic, it's
Yes,
very
excuse
nice.
me, yes. I'm not surprised, because Arabic is much more poetic language. Yes. But in the other languages, in the French, in the German, in Portuguese, in Spanish, they always change the title because all the European publishers, they said, oh, it doesn't sound very poetic in our language, let's change it. But only in Arabic we are using the same title, and that's why it's very important for me.
Sure.
It is a great honor. Thank you, Haifa. It's a great honor for us, for you being with us. And just to give you, we were looking forward actually for this discussion because we read your book, and the group of Multaqa, it contains around 22 girls that we meet nearly 2 times a week, 2 times a month, and we discuss and we read books and novels and we discuss it. So one of the book is being discussed with the team. And fortunately to tell that, to give you the background, and everybody was looking for this discussion because the team consists of around 9 nationalities, Arabs, and different religion. But yet we all agreed that this book was biased because, in a way, the novel was biased because you had a great sympathy to what's happened with the Jewish. Having said that, although it's, as one of my colleagues said, that the address of the book was great. It's encouraged to read because you feel how much the book, the name, it encourages you to read because that's what we're all about, right? Which all about talking how religions could be worked together, how peaceful it should be. Yet in your book, when you wrote it down, you were emphasizing mainly on the Jewish and how sympathy you are. My question here, it's concluded in 2 parts. The first part is, usually when you write these specific or sensitive subject, there are clear borders like religion or politics, that when you write, it should be done a clear sort of review or literature to understand actually behind of these things. So what kind of review you did before writing this from the case of the Jewish and what happened and the Palestinian? This is part of one. The second part, this is personal with regard to what you wrote, do you have the same sympathy to the Palestinian that they are in a prison, same as you had the sympathy in your novel to the Jewish that they were in the prison, in the English prisons? To Jewish that they were in the English prison. I believe in a way it created debate in the team we were, and all of us, we have a lot of books that we read, and we had a debate of being good, being bad. There is no bad novel, but there is a debate that created a novel, and we agreed, all of us within the team has been agreed that there was a sympathy to Jewish, and obviously, and now we were more surprised to understand you are a Muslim, because we definitely came out of the discussion that you had a root of Jewish, because it was in a way not written fairly. And I'm very happy when you mentioned in the beginning, in the first question or second, that you need or you will write the second version. And I hope that you will write the second version to clarify and cool down for us all the things that is being raised, that I feel that it was not fair because it's not being given from the different perspective and it's not being addressed from different part. I think what you did is you just concentrated from specific part and Jewish part and not in the general and different religious perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First, thank you for reading my book. And second, I will read my book again after your commentaries. Because, yes, maybe you are right. You can be right. Because I confess, in my life, for the first time, I'm meeting this kind of serious group of readers about this book. And I wish we could meet each other 5 years ago. It could be much more better for me, for my career. And thank you for your opinions. And for yours, I want to start with your second question. I feel myself, if we compare, I feel myself much more close to the Palestinians because of my country, because of my roots, because of my family, because at least I'm coming from a Muslim family. But this is the topic of another book, as you know. For telling this, I have to write another book. but unfortunately I retired. and the second, before I start to write this novel, I make researches about Second World War, and I learned almost everything about Second World War at that time. I learned all the schedules of the fights or the invasions or something, even the everyday bombardments. And second, I made some researches about the Istanbul Jewish families. And for the first time that I discovered that the Ashkenaz Jewish families and the Sepharad Jewish families, they are not too much close to each other every time. Because as you know, the Ashkenaz Jewish families, they are coming from the north, from the Germany, from the Russia, from the European sites, and they are very strong in science and the politics. And usually they establish the Israel state. But the other ones, the Sepharad Jewish people, they are coming from the Spain to the Ottoman Empire. And we are much more familiar with the Sepharad families, and they are very good in art. And they are Mediterranean people. And one of the main conflicts in this novel is two Jewish cultures.
Yeah.
One is the Nordic, and the other one is the Mediterranean. And I made researches about this kind of things, I can say. It was a long answer, sorry.
Probably we need to differentiate between the idea behind the book and the intention of the writer. I mean, when we write a book, definitely we don't have, I'm talking on your behalf now, Tuna. I'm sure that the author won't have a bad intention, especially now that I'm hearing you. As a reader, my concern is about the context of the script and the way it happens from an artistic point of view, from a language point of view. Now, if the idea pleases me or doesn't please me, in art and in literature, this is not the question. Because in ideology, some ideology might be suitable for a nation. It cannot be suited for another nation. However, writing is a universal art, and you're not writing for us who have conflict with the Jewish. You're writing for the whole world as a writer. Therefore, I'm not here to judge you. I just want to say that it's good to see the other side of the story, like my friend said in Multaka, but as well, we would like to welcome an author coming from a different point of view, from a different aspect, where he saw things from his vision, not our vision. And this is something that we don't want to fall into it. We need everybody to see our point of view. How about if we look at their point of view and we see that all praying are the same all around the world? We went to India, and we saw the Hindus, all sects, Buddhism, Hindus, even Sikh. We went to their temple and they were praying, worshipping a god. Whatever is this god, they were praying and they were filled with emotions. And we do the same in our part of the world. No matter who we are, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, there's a difference between Judaism and Hebrews. I mean, and now we are at a state where we should accept whatever a writer writing. Now, my question to you, will you be affected with this debate that we did to leave us with an impression that you need to do another book to tell our side of the story as Arab and Palestinian, or will you continue to support your book? This is it.
Thank you. First of all, when I talk with Jewish people about this book, they are always saying the same thing, and they are saying, "Oh, this book is not fair. You are supporting the Muslim girl. It's very obvious." And this a little bit depends where we are standing because we understand much more better our sites, our people, our religion, the suffering of our kind. It's always like this, and especially this is the point of this novel, because it's easy to understand our side, but for understand better the other side of the wall, sometimes we have to listen the prayers of the others. Because if we listen the other prayers, maybe we can understand much more easy what is happening over there. Thank you for your
Thank you
opinion.
very much for your, for coming here. And I hope that you keep writing because you have
I'm writing
beautiful
poems, yes.
kind of way of writing things. And thank you very much for coming to Al Multaqa.
You're welcome. Can I read a very short poem from my book?
Oh.
Very short.
Very short.
Yes. I want to say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for this beautiful debate. And believe me or not, this was the best debate I participate about my novel in my life. Thank you very much. I learned a lot of things thanks to you.
We can't sit here and talk here because we don't affect what you're writing. Yeah?
Thank you very much.
We believe all the we believe all the religion, we believe everything. But only the suffering we don't like it. We like everybody. I have friends from Jewish, I have friends from everywhere. As a religion is not in my mind, always people in my mind.
Yes, I will read my book once again
Yes,
after
sure.
this debate. Yes, and I want to read a very short things.
Justice here.
Yes. Adı kötüye çıkmış sokaklar gibi ovalayıp duruyorum temiz yanlarını kalbimin. Ne senden vazgeçmek sayılır ama bu, ne de bir yangını bölüşmek seninle. Aşk bir eksiklik olarak geliyor çoğu zaman, her an itiraf edecek sanki ağlayarak bir şeyleri. Bir de bakmışsın kulağın siren seslerinde ve yüzün gözün telefon kesikleri. Şükran efendim. Thank you very much.